How was the international break for you, and how has it affected preparation? Have you had any players come back late from that at all?
Obviously, we have a lot of players playing for the national teams, which is very, very fun. Which means that we have very few players to train with. But on the other hand, we can actually work with details. It was actually quite of them. Many of them were in the defense lines. So we can work with the build-up and phases of the game. We were using the academy players a few trainings. We were using college boys one training as well to make sure we can practice tactical issues as well. But it was great to come from a win against Aston Villa and a clean sheet to come to training and make sure we recover, but also start the preparation for the Everton. And today everybody was back, had the training on the grass, and trying to make sure what we train on with a few players and the game against Aston Villa to make sure we have a good game plan for Sunday.
And looking back to that game against Aston Villa, I was wondering what kind of positives you've taken moving into your next match.
First of all, of course, to have a clean sheet. I mean, we have received a lot of goals the games before that. So it was really nice to see how we nailed the high press, the low defense some part of the games, and to see Eleanor play her first game and have a clean sheet. It was really nice to see. I think in the build-up we were much braver. I think we were much better in the build-up. I think we created some really good chances. Obviously we scored one amazing goal, but we need to be even sharper when we try to finish more goals. But overall it was a good step from the other games we had before, and I think we can use that to take the next step against Everton.
And against Everton, you've obviously had some tough games recently. Probably going as favourites. Do you think that will kind of shape your approach to the game, or is it kind of business as usual?
I mean, you can think of it in two different ways, but absolutely that we are a team that should be expected to have a good game and try to win Everton at home. If you look at where we are and what we have done, it's an important game to get some good result in it. But on the other hand, it's actually how we can improve our play and how we can make sure we take steps. Winning or losing, we need to get back to the brave football, the high press and everything, and make sure we take steps, because in the long end we need to make sure we play a certain football to win the game. So I think the players are ready for this game. I think we have a good game plan. I think we are ready to try and go and beat Everton. But we played them last season and they had two games where they find a draw against us. So we need to be sharp and make sure we do everything correct, because otherwise we're not going to win this game. So it's not that easy in this league actually, but we have a good chance to do a good game.
And looking at the head-to-head, I think Everton have only lost once in 10 against Tottenham. Do you pay any attention to those records at all? Does it give the other team a psychological edge?
No, I mean, you can always look at it back and forth, but it's a game between two teams, and one team will win or it will be a draw. And I think you just look at this performance and where we are and what we need to do. But of course, you are aware that it's the same manager as last season. I think he's a really good manager with good tactical skills. I'm aware of their squad and what kind of players they have. So we know that we need to be very sharp tactically and physically in this game. But I also know that we could have won those games last season, and I know if we get everything right, we have a good chance to win.
And looking at the goals conceded, obviously a clean sheet in the last game is really important. Is it more of the same going into this game, or do you think you're trying any different tactics, looking at a different opposition? Obviously something worked for you in that game that hadn't been in the previous weeks.
I mean, if you look at how we prioritize, I want to score a lot of goals, and then I want to have a clean sheet. So we're going to look at how we can score many goals and win the game, and then we're going to have some really good defense work. But I'm not going into this game to try to have a clean sheet and hopefully we score a goal. So the mindset will be to play attacking football with high press. But with that, we're going to make sure we try to have a clean sheet.
Excellent. And Everton have struggled for goals. They've scored 3 in the league, but they have picked up a couple of decent results. What kind of overall threat do you think they pose as a team?
I think the tactical skill from the coach gives the players some really good, brave set way they play, and I think they find ways to not lose the big games, for example, against Liverpool and Arsenal. So good defense, some good players, so they can score from anywhere. But once again, they've also been struggling, so we need to make sure we go in hard in this game and make sure we don't give them so much space. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move to questions on the online feed, coming first to Chris Legg.
Hey, Robert. Why do you think it has been kind of harder to get things right defensively this year? I mean, it was pretty solid last year. I know you just said your priority is obviously attacking football, but as a defensive unit, it doesn't seem to have clicked quite as well this season. Would that be fair?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a mixture of some mistakes, some things where we don't nail the press, and some too easy goals to receive, and then you build like bad self-confidence with tough games in a row. I think when you look at the expected goals conceded, I think we have 1.3, but we received 2.6 goals. So if you're using that data, it means that we're receiving 2 easy goals that we shouldn't do. So we need to make sure we defend better, and that's both individually and tactically. So it's both ways. Well, we need to make sure how we defend the box better, for example, how we don't do mistakes in some phases. But I think also this also shows that we have played some really good teams that have some really good players that beat us 1-against-1 sometimes as well. And when you have a few games in a row, when you get those self-confidence hits, it's not that easy to just go into the next game and just be your best version of yourself. So mentally we need to work with that, collectively and everything we need to work with that. But the main thing I think is the high press. So we need to be better to keep them away from our goals, because then we can win it high and actually attack more. And when we end up low, we need to be better to actually deal with the 1-against-1 in the box and so on. So it's a mixture of everything, and it's down to tactic and individual players as well. But it's definitely not good enough, but it's also showing where we are and what we need to improve, and that's what we're working on quite hard.
On the mentality side of things, obviously when it's just a 12-team division and it's so competitive and you can so quickly go from kind of looking up to looking down, how do you kind of keep the players positive and not starting to panic, when it's so tight at the bottom now, you've got all those clubs separated by just 2 points?
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? How you use your mindset, and if you want to look at it this way or that way. If you look at it in another way, we can actually be top 6 if we win this game, and then it's the same position as last season. Then it's like, okay, is it actually that terrible? If we lose the game, yeah, we actually are involved in the other part of the table as well. So, but the main thing is, if you start looking at that, then you are losing the way you're going to perform and act and so on. So you just need to work on how you play, how we're going to bet better, how we're going to have the game plan, how we're going to make sure we perform better, and then the result will come after that. No matter winning and losing, we need to keep doing that, and I think the players showed that against Aston Villa. They came to that game and actually played out from the back. They were pressing higher. We were much braver in the build-up, and we want to bring that to the table this game as well. But it's always a team's, both teams want to win. This league is crazy competitive, and in Sweden you always knew if you played 4 or 5 teams that you will win these games with 4 or 5-0, and in a bad game you will win 1-0, and if you were really, really, really bad, you might have a draw. That was the thing, but you don't have those games in this league, so that's why it's really tough when you lose a few in a row, because it affects your mindset and your self-confidence and everything. But that's the fun part as well, to be in this competitive league, and that's what we want to fix, because we want to be a top team, and then we need to handle these games.
And just lastly, I know every manager's got to contend with this in the international window, and there's great positives from players playing for their country, but do you think it's something that needs to be looked at? I mean, Australia have played 3 games, and you have 3 players involved heavily in those 3 fixtures, and then they come straight back into a WSL game. Is it something that FIFA does need to start to look at?
I think we need to make sure we find the best way to protect the players and the quality of the players. Obviously, if you fly from Australia, coming back yesterday evening, have an easy training today to make sure you get the jet lag right and you're going to perform on Sundays, it's not perfect. So I think we need to take steps to get to the point where we make sure we protect the players. I still think we do take steps. I think we collaborate really good with all the federations and make sure we have a good plan. We also have a good physical performance team when they come back to make sure we can have the right load in training before the game and so on. So we're doing everything we can, but I think absolutely that we can do even better in the scheduling and finding the right rhythm of the league. But that's not on me, that's on other people. But I know that they want to do it, so it's going to be better and better, I hope.
Thank you. Good luck at the weekend.
Cheers.
Alex.
Afternoon, Robert. I just want to touch a bit more on Adam Morris. Obviously, you mentioned she's going this long period in the next few weeks and months. She's had a tough start to life at Spurs, really. Got injured, then started to find her feet, and now she has this. Just how big of a blow is it for her, just as much as it is for you?
I mean, if you look at her perspective in being this young, talented player with this young Lionesses squad and having the future for herself, and she's a really, really talented player. A really good signing for us, which we believe a lot in. When you get these setbacks with injuries, of course, it's it's tough for her and mentally as well. But the cool thing with Ella is that she's so strong to focus on the right stuff and the rehab and get back with the good energy. So I'm not worried about her. It's more like I just feel for her because I feel like she deserved to show this league and this country how good she is, because I think she's been great those period of times where she's not been injured. And I mean, this injury was a very unlucky jewel in that game. So I just hope that she can get a new good rehab, and then when she come back, that we have good weeks with her, so she can just keep develop and play football and not be injured again, because she's the future for this country at that right back.
And of course, the injury is obviously not ideal, but fullback is probably Spurs' like strongest position in talent and depth. And Nilden, Neville, or Grant could all come in and play really strongly. Is that why you have the depth at the end of the day? Are you comfortable with any three of those playing and kind of excelling really?
Yeah, I mean, I think you want to have this competitive squad where you have 2 players in each position, and sometimes people can double up in a different position. I think if you look at Charlie Grant, perhaps she haven't played too much the last games, but she's a national team player for Australia, bringing a lot of energy. Ella didn't play too much in the beginning, but then she played the other game and was great. So it's all about competition and who's bringing the best to the table. But they also part of it is, so they should be ready, and they are ready every time they get the chance. And then it's different story every time if you play or not playing. But yes, we have great fullbacks, we have great support there, and I think this is just more unlucky for Ella, because I like Ella as a player and I think the future is very bright for her. But injuries is a part of the game, and that's why you want to have a depth in the squad, and we have that at fullback position. So I'm not stressed that she cannot play, but I'm sad that she cannot play.
Thank you. Best luck for Sunday.
Cheers.
We'll go to Dan Pentland.
Hi Robert, hope you're well. I just wanted to touch on playing at Brisbane Road, because it feels like a lot of your successes this year have been there. Obviously you picked up a couple of wins in the league, being successful there in the cup as well. So, how much do the players enjoy playing at Brisbane Road? And I know it's in East London and not North, but how much does it feel like home?
I mean, I will not lie, I love to be at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I think that stadium is amazing and it's in the right location. But we had a talk from last season, because we were actually not so good at Brisbane Road last season. We only had 2 wins, I think, the whole season. And we had a chat before the season, like one of the small goals this season would be, how can we make sure that Brisbane Road becomes more of our home ground, and how can we make sure we get that feeling that we're not losing at this ground. And I think discussions from that, and how we have tried to brand the locker room around the stadium, how we try to make sure we take steps to make sure that's our home place, has also made a result, because the players now actually perform quite well there, and we have some good result. Even if we lost Liverpool in overtime, we still almost won that game as well. So we have some good feelings from that stadium. And for me, coming as a Swedish guy to this country and playing at that, it's quite old stadium, but it's something real with it, and I think something British with it. And I'm not sure if it's something Tottenham with it, but we try to create that, and I think the fans is coming with us. And in one way or another, we actually have that as a home ground, and I can promise you that we hear the fans there on that side as well. So it's actually a happy place for me.
How important is it when you kind of build it on results, performances, obviously defence as you've discussed, that kind of Brisbane Road is kind of that strong kind of base to build upon for everything else? Does it kind of play a role in, even as far as kind of building the performances so that you can then go away and start getting more results?
Yeah, obviously you want to make sure you are so strong within your team. You don't really care where you're playing, and then you just play your football, whatever the stage you are. But when you have the same locker room and you have the same spaces and everything, it's easier to perform, I think. And in the future, I hope we also get it even more for the fans and for the media to be more modern. But this is where we are right now. I still like the culture there, where we can play our football and have this connection with the fans. They are very close to us because they are just behind us from the bench and everything. But the away games, we need to be better there. We need to make sure we go to the big games and can handle it. And I think every time we do that, we learn stuff. And give us time, and then we will make sure we can play the same football. But it's still a very big difference to play at Brisbane Road and Tottenham Hotspur Stadium or Etihad Stadium. It's extremely big difference to the occasion, to be honest. And I think we are in this journey where people and coaches and everybody is adapting to how to act in different games, because it's so completely different to play at Wembley in front of 74,000 people and Brisbane Road in front of 2,000. So But give it time, and we will get better in both occasions. But we need to use Tottenham Hotspur Stadium more, and we need to use Brisbane Road more, and make sure we build this good feeling, because it's a lot of it is about self-confidence as well.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Robert. Best of luck for the weekend. Thank you.
Cheers.
Charlotte?
Hey, you've talked a lot about conceding goals, but I want to know what your thoughts on turning these frustrating results into wins, because there's been lots of games where Spurs have been close and they haven't quite got over the line.
Yeah, it's a good question, because it's we create chances most of the games. We create quite good chances in most of the games. Okay, then you look at tactics. Yeah, we create chances where we want to do it. Then you look at players. Yeah, we definitely have quality players with good finishing. So why don't we make them score more goals? Then it's a connection bit, I think, by how do we know each other a little bit more with the relationship? We have changed position and players sometimes because we needed to, because of injuries and so on. And we have received quite many goals in some of the games, conceded quite many goals, and then it actually affects your confidence even when you're going to score goals, I can promise you that. So we need to find a way where we get back there. So in training, we work quite much with what spaces should we be and where do we aim and where do we make sure you get into that space in the right timing of that. And then I know as an old striker, as soon as you score that goal, you probably also get that feeling that you just don't think anymore and you keep scoring. So sometimes it's also about just getting that goal. But we work quite much in training on the patterns and where we should be, and individually on both mentally and also about how we just push them to get that goal, and then you can do the next goal. I mean, Martha Thomas and Bethany England they are great goal scorers and they will score more goals. And I think as soon as we get over that level, when they score those goals, they're gonna, Bethany had an amazing finish against Aston Villa, but the goalkeeper did one of the craziest saves I've never seen. So it's we just need to make sure they keep doing it, because they will score sooner or later.
And on that kind of offensive play, how important is Maita coming back? I thought she was really impressive against Crystal Palace, running that midfield. Do you think that's going to be a big boost as well?
Definitely. To be honest, Maita is on another level. She's so good on the ball. She can see stuff. She can, she's not the biggest one, but she's winning duels anyway. But she can also play those passes that you speak about when you're going to score goals. You need to break down the defense by playing progressive passes in between the lines or in over them, and make sure you can play that player who actually are in the right spot. And she have that capacity. She's so good to find that pass, and she can execute it as well. So she's going to be, and she's an important player. And when we lost her for those weeks, so many games, it affects us, because she was the big signing for us. So that's where we are. So I'm very happy to have her back, and now we're going to just make sure we step her into this with giving her the right minutes the first game, so she doesn't get injured again. We need to make sure we protect them as well. But she trained so well for the last 2 weeks, and she looks so sharp. So she's going to be a big benefit for us now, and after Christmas she will be brilliant. I can promise you that.
It doesn't sound like she's going to start on Sunday.
I don't know who's going to start either. I'm going to pick the starting 11 for tomorrow, but she will be involved one way or another. Starting or not starting is depending on also the load, but she's available, and I can guarantee that she will play one way or another.
Thanks so much.
We'll go to Chris Cowlin.
Hi Rob, I hope you're well. Everton, of course, have only had one win in the WSL all season. What have you made of them so far this campaign?
They had some tough injuries in the beginning, big injuries on the players. They had it last season as well. They had some quite good games where they didn't really get any wins, and then they had some tougher games. I think they had a good win against Liverpool on a penalty. Liverpool had a few chances, but they got a win. So they're coming to this game with a win from the league. Brian is a good coach. They have some really good players in that squad. It's not like they are a bottom team or anything like that. They actually are a team that can compete with us and be around that table where we are. So we need to be really sharp and make sure we show them that we are ready to win this game. But once again, the teams in this league, look at Crystal Palace, they have started to win as well and compete in the game. So it's going to be interesting, because it's also an important game to get the points.
What is the realistic aim in terms of league position this season? Because of course I spoke to you many times last season, and your aim was always to be in that top 3 in your second season. Of Of course, that is very unlikely now. Because of that gap, that huge gap between those top teams, would you consider putting more energy into the cup competitions rather than league competitions?
I mean, if you look at the table and we wanted to aim for top 3, you'd start playing, you get some injuries, you get some bad results and performances, and then you realize, okay, we were right now not ready for top 3. If you have a good strike, you might come back and compete, but that's why you shouldn't focus too much on the table during the season. You need to focus on the performance and get better in the games if you're losing or winning or whatever. Right now, of course, it's really hard to get to the top 3. Right now, you can look at it 2 ways where we shouldn't try to go deeper now because it's quite competitive down there as well. If we win this game, we might be top 6, which is exactly where we were last season, and losing a few players for this season and have some injuries, perhaps that's really good. But the cup will always be prioritized. We will always try to go for that cup run because we had it last season and I really enjoyed it. So, and obviously, if you want to have a title this year, it's quite logical that we're probably not going to win the league this season, but we can win a cup. So we're going to absolutely go for the cups. But once again, the League Cup is a different cup to the FA Cup. The League Cup is something they squeeze in between games. It's a cup where not all the teams are competing before quarterfinal. So that cup will always need to be a cup where you need to move other players to play that time. And then if you reach the quarterfinal, then you go for it. But it's still a cup that is connected to quite many teams using the squad, which I think is a good thing because you need to use your squad. But you know what? I would really happily win the Liga Cup and the FA Cup this season. So, of course, we're going to try to do that.
Well, but lastly, I just wanted to ask you about the January transfer window. Have you any plans for the window in terms of incomings?
Yeah, I mean, we are quite close to what we want to do and quite close with a few players. I think looking back at the summer window and what we went for and what we didn't reach in that window, we're going to make sure we reach it this window. We're going to look at the squad we have, who's happy to stay. We really like the squad we have right now, but of course it's always 1 or 2 or 3 players who feel like, okay, did I get the play time? Am I actually thinking I'm going to get it? And then we need to look at, okay, are you staying or are you going on a loan? So those discussions is in the building right now, and then we just need to make sure we find the right characters for this building. But it will definitely be a few players in and 1 or 2 players out.
Thank you. Best of luck.
Cheers.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Cheers.